You record to the cloud, absolutely.
Right,
Marvelous stuff.
so that's done. That's great.
That is beautifully timed because, okay, guys, it's now 6 o'clock, so now we are going to kick off. Okie dokie.
Right.
Well, first off, thank you everybody for joining. 15 people in. I mean, that's really quite some turnout. I'm sure we'll be joined as we go through the evening. Quite an informal one, really. I just want to get the presentation gone through. It's only 13 slides. I shouldn't take too long. And then time for any questions from yourselves. And you don't have to wait for me to finish to ask them. By all means, you can unmute your mic and ask anything, or put it down in chat there if you're not so sure. First time we've done one of these of an open evening, so we're learning this too. So should need any introduction, I'm Alistair Leith. I'm the guy that runs this. I'm the one who's answering a lot of the questions and everything in the Home Educators group on Facebook as well. So if you've come from there, good to see you. And Nigel and Robert both do the tutoring for us. So that pretty much summarizes that slide there. I think, let's see if I can flick on. Good, here we go. Right, so about us, we've been running GCSE Astronomy by distance learning since about 2009. Give or take. It actually started between myself and another astrophysicist, Dr. Joanna Jarvis. She was essentially teaching it as a kind of a sideline. I found her name in a newsletter and wrote to her, and she took my hand off. So it went online, and there it's been since. Dr. Jarvis has now gone off to other commitments, unfortunately, but Nigel, Robert and myself have continued moving forward. So that's a bit of our history. We do work with home educators, as many of you are, but we also help support mainstream. So if there's any teachers on the audience, we can help there. Schools, not to mention the more mature learners. So we do have some people who just want to, keep occupied. They've retired, want to fill the hours. So they do this as well, just to kind of keep active. A few of them even do it before going to the Open University. I'm not going to give you my life story. I think you're not here for that, but that's briefly my background. I'm a professional trainer, but by trade, and now I'm actually a carer for my son, who's got severe autism. But I still do this on the side. You can see the grey hairs coming through there. And Nigel, rather than me read that out, do you want to say a few quick words?
Yeah, can I just correct that the 4th edition of the book is now in the 5th edition.
Good job.
Plus, the photograph was intended to have a windmill coming out of my head.
Oh, was that nice?
Just shows how crazy we astronomers are sometimes. That was at the Christmas market in Liverpool last year.
And that's something you sent us a joke via WhatsApp, and yeah, it's but there we are. So that's Nigel Marshall for you. And sorry about the mistake there, Nigel.
That's fine.
The website.
No problem.
It just shows you how old the copy is, and you can get his book off of Amazon as well for anybody that's interested. That there is Robert. As he's not here, I'll just quickly say Robert Ratford, and he's more of a microscopist than anything else. But that chap is really one of the smartest people I've ever met, actually. He's London-based, lives in East London, not far from where I come from, actually. He's himself a qualified teacher since he's retired, but as I say, he's still with us, but he's still fighting off the long COVID. Many of you might have dealt with him in the first year, so he's probably be the one who'd be returning your email as such per se. So how much is the GCSE Astronomy? Well, that's probably, I don't know why I've gone into that so quickly. Very briefly, GCSE Astronomy it's a GCSE Astronomy course like any other course, and it is offered by Pearson Sodexo. So Pearson Sodexo is the examining board, and the only examining board that supports GCSE Astronomy. And it used to be the case that with this, you could still do it by distance learning, but you used to have two tasks, projects that had to be supervised. That is now all gone. And the new spec came out in 2017. If I make a mistake, Nigel, do please kick in quickly.
No, you're fine.
When the new spec came out in 2017, which meant it was a longer course. And it also meant that there's obviously about 25% more information in it. And it meant that the observational tasks now did not need to be supervised. So there are two of those, one for paper one, one for paper two, which we can answer questions on that later. But just briefly to get it out of the way, the course itself is £310 payable over the 2 years. So first year, it's the £155, and then that enrolment lasts all the way through until the June of the following year, and we close that off at the end of June, or pretty much after the second paper has happened. So that's when we close off the access there. And if anybody wants to sign on for the second year, it's at that time that the payment is required. There is no sort of start timer for this course, really. The only difference is the later you join, the less time really you've got to study all the modules before before the close that comes. Obviously, if you start after 6 months into the year, then we'll just stage you on to the following year for termination, just to be fair. So it's more of a kind of a roll-on, roll-off thing in terms of the start dates and the end dates here for this. We try to be as flexible as possible about it. One thing I will say here is, yes, you can do it in a single year. It's a lot more hard work. There's 16 topics to get through, and you've got to do both of the observational tasks in that year. And that way we first decide you off you to go and take your exams. But we still charge you £310 for that. And that's because we don't take anything for exam or centre fees. That's between you and the exam centre for that one. We provide the education, we provide the training. We'll take any questions and we'll support your observational tasks, which you're not assessed on, believe it or not. The observational tasks are just between you and your course advisor. They will look over what you've done, and the whole purpose of those really is to make sure that you've covered off enough to be able to answer the questions, because that's the whole point. You're going to be tested on what you've covered, your projects in the actual exam paper. So there'll be one that is which is aided, and the other one that's unaided. It's paper one that's unaided, isn't it? And paper two that's aided, isn't it, Nigel?
Well, yes. Paper one is all to do with naked eye observations, both the question paper and the observational skills, and the other one, is on paper two. Absolutely right.
That's right, and that's why we need to make sure that the observational tasks have been signed off, and they do actually need that to be able to sign you off to take the exam. So they don't need to see the material. It just needs to be signed off. Yep, you have completed it. You now may go and take your exams. It's a tick box. That's all it is for anybody who's confused about that. So that's that one. I think I've covered everything there now. Yeah, so what does the course include then? Okay, let's start from the beginning. First and foremost, it usually begins, somebody emails me, they've got questions, then you sign up. Once you've paid your money, you're then given a letter, and you're then assigned who we call a course advisor. We call them course advisors because they're not really paid an awful lot of money, and they're not available per se for one-to-one or for lessons and things like that, because they're only paid a tiny proportion of the fees that we take in, which, considering what we do charge for a GCSE, it's not a lot of money compared to other providers. That's why they're course advisors. But please don't misunderstand me. Nigel and Robert certainly aren't in this for the money, and neither am I come to that, and they do go the extra mile in many cases. So we are committed to what we do. 24/7 access to the portal. That means you're given a link to log in where all the material is, and you go through the material, and it's all interactive. So you've got interactives where all the information is, quizzes at the end, and downloadable worksheets if you prefer to work that way. And there is a spreadsheet study planner where you can put your results in there too. The idea is, from that, you're getting some idea of how you're getting on. And if you've got any problems or you're puzzled about anything, you go to your course advisor via email and ask them, and they'll get back. If you have any problems that they don't get back to you, and it's happened, the email can go into their spam, you come to me, I forward on to them, and we get back onto you very quickly. So that's how this works. That brings me on to the next one, email course support. I think by now it's pretty well known in the circles that we pick up our email, our support problems pretty quickly. I'm on the end, and even though I don't have the email on my phone anymore, it's on my iPad, and I'm always checking that. And of course, I check it on my computer. So we're not one of these agencies where if you email us, you'll get an answer a couple of days later. I like to get back to you within 24 hours. And sometimes that's late at night. And I can tell you now that one of my space cadets had a problem with getting into their portal last night. And I was still supporting that for her until 10:25. And that's quite a common occurrence for me. I like to make sure that all of my learners, regardless, can access what they've paid for and are getting the service that they expect. Email technical support, I think I've already kind of covered that. Course support, I think you get the email to your tutor and ask and send them any questions too. Access to a robotic telescope, we've got accounts for a deliverable telescope, and what we're able to do is to send you logins, and you can put requests for proposals in there. So if they can't actually control the telescope there, what you can do is say, I'd like a picture of M42, please, or the Great Orion Nebula. I'd like that shot under these conditions, please. And their guys then have to go and do that for you using the conditions that you've set, provided, of course, it doesn't harm the telescope, and provided, of course, it's available at that time. So that's what we mean by the robotic telescope access. I will say at that point, you do not need a telescope per se to do this course. You can use that. And of course, you can use binoculars as well. But we don't specifically say you need to go and buy a telescope for this course. But again, if that's your wish and your desire, one thing, I'm not a professional astronomer. Nigel is, but I'm an observational astronomer. I believe Nigel is too, come to that. But I can give you any advice on buying a telescope, and I do work closely with Rod Valley Optics, and they're quite happy to take our people's inquiries and their money too, as they say. Access to amateur astronomy courses. When I first started this, before I went down the academic route, I was recording an awful lot of my astronomy and how I did it, how I set up the telescope, how I did the imaging. They're a bit dated, but I'll let you have them as part of the sign up to help you along with your observational skills, and maybe even with a bit of astronomy too for you, because it is all about looking up as well and getting to know the night sky. It is an observational course. Free textbook, yes. Well, as soon as you've paid up, Nigel gets an email, typically CC'd, to save me typing it all out again. I'm giving it away now. And he's then asked very nicely if he could ping you a book, and it's from him that the book comes. So you'll get that. And electronic copy access you also get too, so you can open up that. So you don't have to wait for the book to arrive to begin your studies. You can use the electronic formatted copy that is also available. Observational task sign-off, I think we've already said that about that, so I won't go into too much detail there. If you've got any questions, I'll leave that open for you to ask. Support with exam centres, okay. As far as exam centres go, we are networked with a few of them. And we don't tell people what they are until they join us, because at the end of the day, that is one of the perks which we see we offer our learners. We do have a couple of exam centres in Coventry, we've got a couple in London, and we've got one in Northampton that we still work with. Otherwise, we've got very close relations with tutors and exams. We know them quite well, they know us quite well, and they've got centres popping up all over the country. We don't take any commission or any monies for that. We used to take the exam centre fees, what have you, in the very early days when we were dealing with the one exam centre. But now there's several that charge different amounts, so we now don't do that. Also, because of the liability, I can't guarantee any one exam centre is still going to be dealing with us or still going to be an exam centre in a year's time. We can't take the blame for that. All we can do is say, this is a centre, they've agreed to work with us. That's the email of the exam officer. Contact them, say you're from us, and then you go on from there with your exam entries. If you have your own exam centre, that is absolutely fine. The only thing I would clarify them with them is how they'll accept the exam centre, the actual observational task sign off. Will they accept that from us? The kind of the format that we use for doing it. So it's probably best just to get those two things squared away early on. So that's that part there. Where are we now? Oh, right. I think I've got ahead of myself with some of this. Yep. Upon some urge to make their own. Learners are free to. And please note we provide the education and the support signing off the observational tasks. We are not an exam centre. So if things fall over with your exam centre, we can't be held accountable for that. That is between you and them. Obviously, if we hear anything, we'll let you know as soon as possible. And of course, we've had the issue with COVID, and that has placed us in a very sticky wicket, as Nigel, I'm sure, could tell you some stories of. Very hard time for us, but we soldiered through it. And I'll say it publicly again to Nigel, thanks again for your support there, mate. It's very much appreciated.
Pleasure.
So, you can tell how I ramble on. I've actually gone over one slide, overlapped onto another one. It's going to be quite a quick presentation, is the way it's going, guys. Okay, once you've received, yep. So, yeah, fair enough. We'll just go over this. The information I'll ask you for is the full name of the learner, and that is so we can put it on the portal. Full postal address to send out your material. That's just to send out your book. Email address to use to register and your proposed exam centre. Why do we need that information? Well, the first load is quite self-explanatory. The proposed exam centre is just to see if we need to point you in the direction of anywhere that we know. But please know that information in the line of GDPR is purely so we can put you on the portal. And I will say this now regarding the portal. It's manually added. From Space Cadets to GCSE Astronomy, I manually add you. And it's done because that's the easiest way that I can see to do it. There's no easy way to go from the process of taking your money so that you register and then go on there. There's no easy way of doing it. And plus, when I add you, I know who you are. That's why it's by first name _ last name in lowercase. It's so I know who you are. And it's also for safeguarding purposes. I need to know who's on the portal and who's to take off as well in the line with GDPR. And if I've got some weird username, I've then got to go back and cross-reference with our records to find out who that is. It's going to take me a lot of admin. So I try to keep it as simple as possible. But please know the way it's tied down, you should not see any other learner when you're logged into the portal. So there's no chance of anybody coming in and contacting you. It shouldn't happen anyway. And if there are any safeguarding problems with regards to our portal, please let me know. But I mean, that's something that we take very seriously here, safeguarding. So as I say, you shouldn't really be contacted by any other learner on the portal. If you are, let me know. But again, rest assured, I have put everybody there and they've all paid money for this course. And I'm pretty convinced, hand on my heart, these people are who they say they are. And in many cases, I've spoken to them on Facebook anyway. So it is safe. Yep, and then you'll receive login in details. But yeah, so in the email afterwards, you'll receive a letter that contains our agreement with you. What you can expect from us, what we can expect from you, how long the support will last, and who your course advisor is. If you ever forget any of that, do please let me know. And I will emphasize here, this is very much a self-led course. So it's for you to contact your course advisor with any questions and for you to chase them up regarding the observational tasks. You want to get those started as early as possible and liaise with your course advisor about the progress of those. But pardon me, but they're usually, they're quite straightforward to follow. So moving on, the course advisors, yep. So I will say that, our GCSE Astronomy program is very much a self-led course. And as I said earlier on, people join us at different times. So people might join us, very early on, people might join us round about now. And what that means is everybody's at different stages with regards to their studying. So it's not really possible to cater for everybody in terms of online lessons and such. So that's why we offer the study plan that we do. And I'll get to the webinars that we offer in just a second as well. The course advisor is there to take any questions via email. That's correct. Please, as I said, they're not paid enough for one-to-one via the telephone. But however, if you choose to engage them as a personal tutor and engage them on the one-to-one, as Nigel's often done, that's absolutely fine. And I don't take anything for that. That's between you and your course advisor. So if you want to engage Nigel services beyond the pale, then you can do that, and that's between you and him to discuss. I don't need to know about that. So let's have a look with my throat. Moving on, GCSE Astronomy webinars. Yes, I'll very quickly discuss those as well. Yeah, we run 2 webinars a month essentially. So they are the final 2 Thursdays of the month. They're always the final 2 Thursdays. Unless for any reason we've got to change. If we do change, we'll let you know. But they're always the final 2 Thursdays at the end of the month. And they always run between 17:50, that's 10 minutes to 6, until 7 o'clock. I am usually available as today at about past. If anybody's got any logging in problems, I can then help you out and bring you in. And Nigel usually joins us pretty promptly at about 1:45, because he's often tutoring at about then too, bless him. And then it's the hour that we go through from there with a few questions at the end. We're trying to make them a bit more interactive than they have been. So those of you who have seen the presentation kind of format where Nigel's kind of talked through, we're changing that little bit to make it a bit more engaging for you guys, but that's a work in progress. So here we are, GCSE Astronomy first year, we look at past exam paper questions, GCSE Astronomy second year past exam paper questions. So we think, we could go through the lessons, regurgitating those year in, year out. But the thing is with GCSE Astronomy, and I'll say that now, I'm sure Nigel will agree, this is not a parrot fashion learning course. It's not enough to go away and learn the diameters of all the planets and names of all the stars and pass an exam. You need to be able to apply what you know. So what we decided here would be more profitable and productive, shall we say, would be to go over the past exam papers of the previous year and look at exam technique and look at some of the questions that have been asked and give you guys practice very early on in how to deal with that. So no, they're both the same time of the year, Sarah. But both the exams will be in the same time of the month. So yeah, thanks for raising that, Sarah. The exams are in the second year. So there's no exams in the first year. They are both in the second year, just to clear up that confusion. And for the second year, again, what you're doing there is the second years have to attend both of the webinars. So you'll be encouraged to attend both the first year and the second year webinars to see how to answer past exam papers for both of those. And they're new every year. And much to our relief, we've now got access to last June's exam papers. So yes, that's June 2022 just passed. We've now got access to those papers, so we can run ahead with those from September onwards. And each month, as I say, we look at a selection of past exam questions. And I think, so the first year is just get access to the first year. So you'll be looking at the second from the third Thursday, usually into the month, will be when you attend. And what will happen there is 1 week before, on the Thursday, we sent an email from me inviting you to the webinar with the links to come in. And it's also on the Facebook page as well. But we've got a GCSE Astronomy webinar first year group page that we used to, and I'll put the link into that. I will admit sometimes I'm a bit forgetful with that part, but if you shouldn't have to let me know, actually it should be there. But if you're not so sure, certainly by the Friday of the week before, then let me know and I will make sure that's sorted out. And obviously for the second year, as I said, you're paying for both, which is why second years pay a bit more than the first years. And that is the end of it. So yeah, those are the webinars. The prices are on the website. I can pass the link to that later on. So yeah, they'll begin from September. So August, we don't have any webinars next month. It would have been the second year tonight, actually, but the second years have now finished their exams for this summer, and understandably, they're on their way now, and very best of luck to them. But yeah, and I will say, by and large, just as a kind of a close, our learners do very well. I mean, we don't know the exam results of every single learner that we've had because they're not obliged to tell us, and our exam centres don't necessarily tell us. But those that do come back, I don't think we've had anybody below about a grade 4 or 5. Most of them come in at 9, 8, 7. So it's about that level that they're getting through. And I have to say, it's a testament to their hard work, but also, like, I think it's a testament to us too. So yeah, quite proud of that. And I think for me, that's pretty much all I had to say. As I said, it was a very short presentation. Crumbs, I've done that in just half an hour, which gives us plenty of time for questions, doesn't it, guys? So I'll over to you for any questions. I'll now turn off the recording for people. Or Nigel, can you turn off the recording?
Yeah, sure.
There we are. That's so that now what I'll do is I'll pop the URL into that. Feel free to ask any questions, guys. This is your evening.